After doing hundreds of deals over the years, you forget a lot of the good ones, right? You do so many deals, you forget a lot. But the ones that don't go so well, those ones you never forget, like this one behind me. So it's a long story if you guys want to hang in for it. But it all started, we were actually in Fort Worth, me and a business partner, 2017. We're doing a bunch of deals over by Fort Worth and by TCU. And we had this, where it all kind of started to go wrong was we had this false sense of security that we had figured it out, right? We were buying houses for like 120,000, putting 60,000 in, and they were appraising for like 180 to 100 or above. And we were like doing the burst strategy, getting all the way out, like refinancing, getting out. We did that on like 3 or 4 properties. And we had a GC that we found that was recommended to us. And he was doing all the work and he was like hitting his budgets. And we did like 4 of them like that. We're like, this is awesome. We could scale this, right? So we're like, and we were buying from wholesalers at the time. There were a ton of them, right? Like New Western, some of these other big companies. And so we were like, well, we'll just keep buying from these wholesalers. But they started sending these properties at like higher price points and in like historic neighborhoods. So this is a historic neighborhood. And the ARV on this one, I think, was around 600,000, which you guys will see one of the lessons at the end of this is always have 2 exit strategies. So we learned it the hard way. But we're like, let's go do some fix and flips because the numbers look good on paper. We'll make, like on this one, I think we were gonna make 70,000 or something. So we're like, let's go make the 70,000, then I could go buy more rental properties, right? We keep scaling. And we did that across one here, we did one in Dallas, we had another one down in Fort Worth, and then we had some of the rentals going. Well, the problem was that same guy that was doing all our first several burst strategies, that GC that was like turnkey and was great, we're like, he probably wasn't fit to go do a $600,000 house in Dallas, nor did I think he wanted to. So we're like, well, all right, we'll just go find a project manager. We met him through Bigger Pockets. And we're like, we'll let her do it. She can be the project manager. She can hire the contractors. Anyway, so we got going on that one. She actually did a couple different houses for us. The first one was on the market, wasn't moving. The seasonality, I think it was around like October, and it wasn't selling. But again, we couldn't just refi. We were trying to actually refi it out and just hold it because it wasn't moving, but it couldn't move. So we had also started this project. So we'd started this one in a historic district, and I guess the first big hurdle was the permits. Like we were just trying to get permits going. And I think first off, we got red tagged because we were trying to get it done without it. And then we got red tagged, had to go through the city. So like 3 months later, we finally get permits. We're finally ready to start. And like literally these arches, like we were having to like redesign them and do all these extra hoops that we've never jumped through. Right, so we finally get permits going, and then we start paying contractors to do the work. And there was a bunch of druggies in the house before we bought it. Like they were like sneaking back in and stealing stuff. And it was just a complete nightmare. But anyway, so we're trying to get this one done. We got another one halfway done. The ones over here in Fort Worth, we're just waiting for it to sell, and we're trying to keep the money going, right? And I didn't even mention the financing on this was, we used a hard money lender, financed about 80%, and then we used a private money lender to do the other 20% and find it. So we could 100% finance it, right? Well, problem is we get into it, that other house won't sell, right? We were counting on that one to sell, and then a couple other projects, and this one starts going over budget. That one's going over budget, and all of a sudden we're in a bind. And the other thing is our contractors are all crapping the bed. They're not showing up. We're paying for things like 2 or 3 times, like all this like train wreck of nightmares starting to happen. So we just realized this other house falls through, won't sell. And we're like, we got to get out of this. And so I call my hard money lender. They're like downtown Dallas. And they started putting pressure on us. They're like, hey, what's going on with that house? Why haven't you sold it? We thought you were going to refinance. They're like putting all this pressure on us. Well, then this one is not going well. So finally we call them one day and I'm like, guys, we can't make our interest payment. This was like January. I'll never forget. It was like January, like 28th. I'm like, guys, we're in a bind. I don't think we can make our interest payment next month because we're trying to get these houses sold and we're in a bind. Like, what do we do? And they were like sharks. They were terrible. They were like, first they were trying to work through us and just asking questions. And then on the second, the day after the first, right? Second of the month, we hadn't paid, they knew it. They're like, they called us and said, hey, just so you know, our attorney is issuing you the notice of default. We're starting the legal proceedings to take this house back, like on the second of the month, right? So then we're like, crap, what are we gonna do, right? And then the worst part was my private money lender. So my private money lender at the time, things were going slow, but I still feel bad to this day. Like, things were going slow. We weren't like telling him, hey, we're struggling with contractors, we're struggling these other places. Because I figured that house is gonna sell, we're gonna keep things moving, and we're gonna be fine, right? Well, and we'd already spent quite a bit of money on this house. We'd already gutted it, we'd built the fence, we had got it ready, we gotten through permits. We're pretty much ready to start putting up drywall and finishing it, putting it back together. We'd done electrical, done a lot of the big stuff. So we'd spent all the rehab budget. that we had allocated, but we were now way over budget. But I had no confidence in my contractors to finish it. And in the market, nothing was selling, right? So I'm like, it's just, I had no confidence, right? So it was one of the worst calls I had to make was to this investor, be like, hey, I'm not sure what we're gonna do here. Here are our options. We needed to sell this thing, and I'm not gonna be able to pay you back with what we could sell it for. Like, we're underwater, but we gotta sell it. I'm like, you could put more money into it and we could go finish it. There's a chance we could get all your money back, but I'm like, but there's no guarantees. And I was fearful. I'm like, I'm scared that if I go put another 50K in this, I might still not be able to sell it the way things are going. And now instead of losing your 50K, you've lost 100K or whatever the numbers were, right? So it was like one of the worst phone calls ever. And I felt bad too, because he just felt so blindsided because, again, things weren't really going that bad. And all of a sudden now it was like, boom. So thankfully I was like, I finally just made the call. I'm like, we're gonna get this thing sold. So the hard money lender, we ended up deeding it back to them, or we actually ended up selling it to another investor that was working with that hard money lender. And they were like, we can go in and finish it. They had better crews than we did, and they could keep their costs down. So we basically ended up just deeding over the property. We lost everything we had into it, but at least we got that loan, that hard money 12% loan off of us. So we did that on that one. The other properties, it's a tale of two hard money lenders. Luckily, I had another hard money lender who was really good to me, because I called him. I'm like, hey man, we're in a bind. I didn't even mention, we had two of them South Dallas, two that were also, one's not selling, another one's halfway done. But that guy was good to me. He's like, Casey, I've been there, that sucks. I used to fix and flip. I'm sorry where you're at. There's only one thing you can do. You got to put them on the market as is, and you need to drop them 10,000 every week until you sell them and get done. And that guy actually is like, don't worry about your interests. We'll get it on the back end. He's like, just get them sold, Casey. And so we ended up doing that. We got all of them sold and moved them out, and that guy got paid back, and he's one of my best hard money lender relationships and mentors I still have. But anyway, it was one of the hardest things. I'm sharing it with you guys because it was a nightmare. We were worried about paying that guy. Even that private money lender, still to this day, I'll never forget that conversation of having to call him and say, hey, we've lost the money at this point. Like, all I can do now is just cut our losses, get this thing gone, and give me time. I'm like, I can't pay you back today, but I want to pay you back. And that was one of the hardest things. He's like, when are you gonna be paying me back? I'm like, I don't know a date, because I don't want to tell you a date and not be able to do it. But we eventually paid that guy all back. We didn't pay him all interest, but I finally was like, hey, I finally have the money. I could pay it back to you now or try to pay more over time. He's like, I'll pay me now. So we were able to finally pay him, but it was rough. But anyway, so I guess moral of the story, the biggest lesson I learned is having the two exit strategies. And it really birthed the Revive method. So on this one, if it would have been at a lower price point, I could have rented it out or refinanced it. And now, because now this house is worth a lot more money, I could have just cash flowed it, right? I could have just lived to fight another day, but it wouldn't cash flow as a rental. And the other thing though, and why we do the Revive method, is if I would have structured that as a Revive method, I could have dropped the price and I could have held on to it, and I could have got it at least sold, because the market was correcting. We were dealing with bad contractors. I could have got out of it and not lost a bunch of money. But yeah, we had like 3 or 4 of them just like this. We were able to get out of rid of them all. And the way I recovered is I had those Pure Bar franchises we talked about. I was able to actually sell half of one to get the money to pay everybody back and move back to Houston and restart. But that was like 2017 and had to restart. I still have a private money lender to this day. His name is Rivers. And I remember calling him. I'm like, Rivers, dude, we're in a bind. He's like, dude, that sucks, but like, I'll give you time, right? He's like, you just need to go back to Houston. You need to go find cheap rent and just build it back. And that's what I did. We went back and started renting our house and kind of rebuilt it, started focusing in on Wyoming and rebuilt it. But still have battle scars to this day. Still, I still get PTSD just seeing it. Because there were so many times I just walked by this house being like, are we ever gonna be able to finish this? Because you would come here every week and no progress. Nothing was done. The contractors just wouldn't move. And you're spending all this money, burning like $3,000 a month in hard money, or bleeding, I should say. All right. Yeah, I remember even working with the wholesaler. We were going back and forth a lot on trying to figure out the numbers, because they were having trouble moving it and we were trying to get the seller out of it. They needed a certain amount, but we finally made the numbers work. I don't even know if the wholesaler made a ton on it, but I know that one of the big issues was just the family. It was all drug. They had it, it was all, the whole neighborhood knew it. And I remember when we finally took over, we took title and we're waiting on permits, and luckily the neighbors were telling us, they're like, hey, they tried to get in the house. So we had to put, I remember we put Ring cameras. We were worried, and that was the other thing I was worried about. It's we're gonna go fix this thing and put all our appliances, and then somebody's gonna come in and gut it and ruin everything we had. It was just it was a tough neighborhood. Okay, we still come? Real quick?
Yeah.
We'll do real quick. Oh. Hey, pups. Wow, looks great. Yes, so yeah, and they did do, looks like some new, or at least they painted new windows, but I remember all the windows were, yeah, I still remember it was all gutted. It was all gutted in here. Yes. Yeah, I remember we always planned kitchen here. We opened it up. I think there was a bunch of walls here. Yeah, and then we ended up putting a bathroom and like the mat is, okay. We were initially like gonna try to put like a master or something back here, but ended up being the back laundry. I remember me and Mike being out here. We had we put a ring camera right up there just to make sure that nobody was messing around back here, and built a fence. And this was just a big, at least it's grass now. It was a disaster back here. I remember, I think it had, yes, and it had like a little carport thing that was like halfway broke. They did a nice job on the, I love the white, I love how it's white and bright.
Yeah, I think that's what struck us when we first walked in.
Yeah.
The walls neutral, and then obviously all the framing.
All the framing.
Stand out. Yeah.
Yeah. There were two different.
Master bedroom is in the back.
Master bed? Okay, cool. Wow, you guys keep this place impeccable. I'm impressed. Yes, I remember this back bedroom and the windows. And I don't think the bathroom was here. Yeah, this bathroom was like all gutted. It was rough looking. Wow. This is cool. Another bedroom. Yes, and I remember this bedroom had a weird little door, but we just figured like, you know what? It's gotta be a bedroom with a door. Yes, this bathroom. This is cool. I haven't, yeah. If I find the old pictures, I'll send them to you.
Yeah.
You guys would sure love it. Wow. Yep, and then this bathroom. And yeah, then we just basically had to have another bedroom with a door, but they did a really nice job of it. Cool, and the old back.
You had plans for it so it had not taken shape as far as.
Exactly, it was all here. We just hadn't started to we were ready to start putting up drywall, but we just had contractors running off with our money. And then we just had a bunch of other projects that wouldn't sell. So we're like, we had to just fire sell. And luckily, we basically just gave it back for what we owed, and we lost all the money we put into it. But at least we didn't get foreclosed on.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, it looks great. Well, thank you guys so much. It was good to meet you. Yep. Rhett and Casey. Yeah.
Casey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good to meet you. And Johnny. Cool. Well, best of luck to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys have a great night.
Closing dogs.
Thank you.
Did they say the investment? Did they say the investment?
No, I didn't ask you. I should have asked him. Yeah, I should ask him. Oh yeah, I remember like the front yard and the flower beds, and one of the big things was out here, was these. I just remember, I don't know what we even call them, like the pillars, right? I remember they're drawing out, like we were having to get the perfect drawing for the pillars that the city and the Historic Society would all approve. Even like this little railing, right? It could only be so high because it had to match all these other railings. And I remember trying to get through that and get it approved, and it was just a nightmare.